Hey everybody, Coach here. Hey, I thought I would take a few minutes during a raucous thunderstorm that is rolling in to bring you this week's episode. What better time than to give you a tailgate talk off my pickup and talk about this week's topic. And that's called the next step. Previous episodes have been surrounding drainage systems and the boulder island and patio in the backyard. And the next step is something that most people have and fewer people tend to get to. They tend to understand that they accomplished something good and now it's time to sit back and enjoy it. But if you have multiple tasks or multiple projects that you're attempting to complete in a period of time, the next step is always something that you have to start thinking about before you even complete the current project you're working on. And there's a couple of reasons for this. And I'm speaking pretty much directly to landscape and gardening projects, yes, but you can apply this to many other facets of construction as well. For instance, the boulder island and such that we completed in the backyard. We had plenty of material that we had ordered in, both in 1-inch crushed gravels and stone dust for the patio, boulders, etc. And we had a lot of leftover, especially when it came to the boulders, which we did not order. It just kind of came with the load. And although the cost of that boulder load was not extravagant, it was only about $300. There was enough boulders left over to start a whole nother thought process that I started thinking about when I was wrapping up the backyard. And that was, let's keep the continuity going. Let's have some of the boulder theme carry back out front where the driveway is and where the back hill is, etc. So there's a little bit of continuity when it comes to the landscape theme. And Maestro and I both talked about it and we agreed. And so our next step was to put a bow on the backyard. It is done for probably this year. I don't foresee too much more outdoor living space improvement or boulder island improvement right now. Perhaps maybe in the early fall or something. But we had several, if you'll recall, several projects we wanted to try and accomplish. 24 in 2024 was the video that we did on that, and also the podcast. And we're about a little past the halfway point. And I think that's pretty good since we didn't start until April, until snow and frozen ground was gone. So for right now, we basically looked at our budget of what we were going to try and put into this year. And I did not want to bring in too much more boulder stuff as far as landscape projects. So I looked around, counted off what I had left, and then boulders that were actually here already when we bought the property. And I pretty much came up with a plan. I figured I had enough boulders existing that I could do my driveway triangle project and use some of the larger kibbles and bits and be able to do the utility pole bed also just right across the driveway from the triangle bed, and be able to use stuff without having to go out and purchase more. And I was able to do that. And this past week, that's what we have been working on. The thing that we did import is we did bring in a blended loam soil. Pretty good quality stuff. I think, nope, I have not shown that to anybody. But let me describe this imported loam soil. Basically, it goes through from a quarry, it goes through a royer, which feathers the stones and stuff out of it, sifts those stones and the rocks, and what you're left over is what loam and clay particles are actually the base of the soil in the area. And goes through a royer, gets fluffed up, gets sifted pretty good, and that's what they sell. And so I bought a 5.5 yards for the triangle bed and the driveway utility pole bed, and that was done earlier this week. This was back on right after the 4th of July holiday, and it is done, and you will see that on the video this week. And in addition to that, in addition to having those boulders on hand and the leftovers, I had large enough boulders to do a larger bed below the transplanted arborvitaes in the backyard, the back driveway area. And I brought in another additional 10 yards of blended loam and put the boulders in front, much like I did the boulder island in back, and then backfilled that hillside to a degree that so it looks good. The bed kind of goes from the French drain area up to just about the base of the arborvitaes, and it has filled it in and taken that steep slope out of it. And it has given me a large planting area of which I can use, and I still have some of those plants left over. I had some Veronica left over from picking it up at Lowe's this past week or so. I found some on the clearance racks. Very good condition considering, how should I diplomatically say it, displayed in the wrong environment. Veronica is something that's going to want to be out in the sunshine, so it continues to bloom. The nursery personnel should go through and nip and tuck the dead blooms to keep them as fresh as possible. Well, that's not always how they do it. They sometimes lose track of everything that they bring in, and they stay on racks instead of display tables longer than they should. But for our advantage, they discounted them down to $4 a piece. I snagged 5 of them. They're going on the hillside. In addition to that, I still had some of the garage sale plants. I've got some tall, white, blooming phlox that are available for planting. So those are going to go in there. And I have a few of the half-quart Angelina sedums, and I'm going to put a pair of those at each end of this bed and let them kind of be a highlight for now. The rest of the Angelina sedum, some were used in the driveway bed, and others are going to go in the boulder island in the backyard. I like them because of the contrast. There's nothing up in this area of northern Maine that has any sort of chartreuse color to it unless it's sick. And there's a great contrast between forest green and all the other colors that I have, especially the salvias and other stuff, the Veronica as well. They look really good when it contrasts against dark purples and lavenders and stuff. So that chartreuse Angelina sedum is going to look really super good. So that is what I've been working on this particular week. And what I wanted to emphasize in this episode is not what I've accomplished, but the planning and the execution of it leading up to the end of my backyard project, and then overflowing that momentum and stuff into the front yard project. And so over the course of 2+ weeks, just about 2+ weeks, but it'll be 3 weeks by the time everything is done. The rest of this weekend, I will be going back down to the nursery, finding some additional plants for the backyard hillside bed, finishing that off and mulching it and be done with it. But today, it was cleanup day. I had to take all the rock that was left over from that boulder delivery, and there was a lot. There was a lot of stuff. And I actually was able to take them and do a linear ring over outside of the slider door, kind of where it drops off going down to the pond. I was able to line those things out and at least make them look organized, and then cleaned up the driveway and got it back down to a stone dust level so it's not all chips and rock and fragments. It looked like hell, and now it doesn't. And some of the larger kibbles and bits I took down to the stream and bolstered up some of the shoulder of the stream again. So now I'm feeling more and more confident that if we got a big rain event, our stream is not going to threaten the driveway. I'm pretty sure I've got it to a point where that's not going to happen. And these are some of the things that go through my head. You know, how could we use what we have to continue the project or projects that we want to accomplish? And we were able to pull it off. Now, what about cost factors this week? Well, the cost factor for me was a couple of dollars. I think it was $20 for the Veronica that I bought. It was $20 for the little 10-pack of Angelina sedum. The boulders for the driveway bed were already here, so that didn't cost anything. And I got an 8-pack of wave petunia for a little bit of color splash for the rest of the summer down on the driveway. And I'll probably do that up here on the hillside bed as well. The soil was the big expense. It was $22.75 a cubic yard. And so a total price of about $250 for 3 loads of that. And that was the big expense for the week. But it was plenty to do a nice display on the driveway beds. The small utility pole part of the bed there is really small. It's just a little elbow, but a very steep drop off. So I had to do a dry stack stone box for the planter. And then I was able to put in some Jack of Diamonds Brunera. I was able to put in some autumn bracken fern and one of the leftover hostas that I had from the garage sale. Nice. And it's kind of a part sun bed because of spruce trees that are up above it. So it only gets sun in the morning, and then as the sun traverses the boughs of the spruce tree, kind of shade it out a little bit. And it's really good. It gives enough sun for the petunias to do their thing. And I know that those waves are going to just cascade over the stone wall and really kind of come on into their own in about a month. And I'll have about 8 weeks, maybe 10 weeks, depending on what the fall shows, that they'll get into their own and give a real good color splash. Then back over to the hillside bed over here, it turned out, and I'll tell you something that I did because I know this soil already well enough. I did not want to just leave it out in the rain. If I left it out in the rain, which we've had the past 36 hours, I would have kind of a soft, squishy mess, kind of a clay, doughy type of soil to try and plant in and have it covering my boots, and it would just, I'd be tracking it in the driveway, and I just said, nope. So I got out some of the tarps that I have, and I tarped the whole bed, and that is how I sit. That's how it sits right now as I'm talking to you. And then tomorrow, it's supposed to clear off, clear up a little bit. It's supposed to warm up this particular weekend, up into the mid-80s. Ugh, God. Up here all the way in northern Maine, and I can't get away from that so-called heat. I know what some of you are going to say, but for us, that's like 105. It becomes muggy. You do get some thunderstorms in the afternoon occasionally, and that tends to knock the temperatures down temporarily. But for the most part, yeah, it's kind of uncomfortable weather for us. But we're managing. We're going to get through, and I am not complaining. I know what it's like out in the Central Valley of California right now. I know what it's like down in central Texas right now, and I know what it's like down in the deep south, and I am in no position to complain. I'm very blessed with what I have and what Mother Nature's doing for us right now. So, as you approach projects, think about more than one at the same time and plan out something that you're going to be capable of doing back to back. In the case that I'm talking about, I needed boulders, I needed gravel, I needed soil, I needed mulch, I needed planting mix, and all of those things came about in kind of a systematic manner. Not because I'd done this stuff before, but because it was just obvious, okay, now we're getting towards the end, we need to go get some more mulch for the driveway beds, we need to get some more soil and some planting mix for the driveway beds and what I'm going to be doing up here on the hillside, and it just kind of fell into place. And when you have those steps falling into place, it'll do a few things for you in a real positive fashion. Number one, right out of the get-go, it's going to bolster your confidence. As soon as you see the one project turn out good because you maybe went along with the 15 step that I suggest, or things just worked out for you, your confidence has grown tremendously, and now you're going to continue it to another one. And oftentimes the projects will get bigger and bigger until you find that you're done, and you can start taking care of and maintaining and keeping what you have created to a really healthy level that really shows off your DIY prowess now. And that's where I want everybody, whoever listens to this podcast or watches my channel or visits my website or whatever, that's my whole goal for you guys, is to be able to do this stuff yourself within reason, within physical reason, monetary reason, and capabilities. Capabilities tend to grow and change as you do stuff. Look at whatever career you have right now. You're probably a lot better at it now than you were when you first started or the first day. Am I right? Well, the same thing goes for this too. I mean, it's like, that's just life in general. The more you do something, the better and more proficient you're going to be at it. And that's where I'm at right now. I'm looking out over our front yard, and I'm very happy with the improvements that we've made since we came back with the cargo trailer in mid to late April. And so in the last 8 weeks, we've been able to give ourselves a completed drainage system, which has worked absolutely fantastic, with one exception. I found out a couple of rainstorms up here were so heavy that the valleys of my metal roof become such a sluice box that it just jumps right over the gutter. So I had to go get some gutter diverters to block that jumping and keep it in the gutter. That's really the only thing that's been kind of a, shall I say, a disappointment with the gutter system that we purchased. I didn't realize that the water would come shooting off of there that hard, and it has, probably 4 times now this summer. So yeah, once in a while we get dumped on here really hard, and so we had to do that. Then the other thing I have is taking care of what I have that has got me this far. Taking care of the John Deere tractor that I have. Taking care of tires, taking care of finish, taking care of greasing, and making sure that it is ready to go when I am ready to go. And then also making sure that the job sites, as they evolve, I can take and clean up, neaten up, and make it look like, yes, there's work going on here, but it's organized, and it's not strewn all over the landscape everywhere. It's very consolidated. Tools are put in certain places, hopefully every night protected, so that they're not rained on every single day and rust out or anything like that. So that's where I'm coming from to, it's the next step. The next step of what you guys are going to be doing. What are you going to be planning out, and making sure that one small project may kind of dovetail into the next small project when it comes to gardening and landscaping. If you're into plumbing or electrical, those two generally don't mesh very well. So you just have to plan out if you're opening up walls or ceilings or taking water from basements. I'm in the process of hooking up with a guy down in Texas right now that is talking about irrigation. And we're going to have a good conversation on the consultation coming up later today. And we're going to get him off and running on his DIY project. And if you guys have something like that, where maybe you think you got it, under control, but you'd like to bounce it off somebody, man, go check out my website, youryardcoach.com, where I do offer a consultation time frame where you can bring all the questions you want under a certain period of time for a very, very reasonable fee, and you can bounce it off and realize, hey, I am on the right track, or maybe I need to go in this direction. And it really helps. It really helps if you have someone who's got your back, who can kind of coach you through it. So consider that if you're of a mind. Anyway, that is what I have for you guys here today. I so much appreciate your time as always. As always, to your guys' landscape success. Any questions that you have regarding landscape and gardening, throw it at me. youryardcoach@gmail.com. I answer every single one of them, and I certainly appreciate those who have reached out recently. Anyway, guys, till next week. Thanks again. Bye for now.
Hey friends, Maestro here. Please check out the description for this podcast, where you will find important links related to this video, as well as links to the website, discounts, and much more. Also, don't forget, Yard Coach now offers personalized consultations to help you get your project launched and completed, or just answer your specific landscaping questions on a personalized level. See the website at youryardcoach.com for more details.